So I have 2 ratings for this. I have one for the film itself, and then one for the theatrical experience because we saw it in 3D, and another rating for that for a 3D enthusiast. So you don't have to rate it twice. I'll just rate it twice.
Well, I didn't rate it twice, so
Okay, no, so that'll just be me. So the first one, just normal, just what we thought of as a movie. So we'll do that one first. 3, 2, 1.
Wait for it.
And now, for me, as a 3D enthusiast, I'll say it's a see it if you like 3D films. Skyscraper. In my opinion, it was an average action film that doesn't do anything new, but is elevated by the quality of cinematography, effects, and the 3D effect that was applied to the film.
I said visually it looks really good, but I also said I did enjoy the action sequences, especially the second half. I enjoyed the second half of the film.
For me, the first thing that stood out was I talked about this before, it's the 3D effect of the film. I thought the 3D in this movie was fantastic.
I have to say, it was really cool with the 3D. Every time they were on top of the building, I was like, ugh. I could feel it as if I was up there.
It's used to great effect. We haven't been seeing as many 3D films since MoviePass came out, since MoviePass doesn't support 3D. But now that AMC is doing 3D, we've seen 3 3D films.
The stub, the A-list.
The AMC, yeah. The AMC
A-list.
Since that came out, we've seen 3 films in a row that had 3D.
Well, we've been doing with the A-list is pretty nice. You can see the Prime, you can see it in IMAX, you can see it in whatever you want. So it's worth it.
To give a comparison of what I thought with 3D in this film, we saw Ant-Man and the Wasp in 3D. I actually didn't think that 3D was that great in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
It didn't do anything for me.
I noticed a lot of double images or ghosting, but in Skyscraper, there never once was I distracted by the lack of quality with the 3D. I was always immersed in the film. It's like, for instance, when The Rock or Dwayne Johnson, I'm trying to refer to him as Dwayne Johnson because he's an actor, but like when he was climbing the crane to jump into the building, there's like a lot of like little lights that are strung up through the crane and stuff, and I never once got ghosting or double images. So give them props for doing the 3D effect properly, because a lot of films don't do it right and they just kind of like half-ass the 3D effect. It was really well done in Skyscraper.
I like the 3D effect for the height. For any time, there was a lot of
the bird's eye views when he's hanging off the ledge and you're looking down. It's like, oh god.
Even you were like squirming a few times. I was like, ugh.
So, Skyscraper, the 3D effect, because you're not going to get that effect at home, especially now since they stopped producing 3D TVs a couple years ago. If you're a 3D enthusiast, go check this film out.
Wait, they completely stopped it?
No, they don't make 3D TVs anymore. 2016 was the last time they made them. The spectacle in the film is very well done. When you're inside of the building and the building's burning down.
It visually looks great.
It looked pretty cool.
It looks good.
There's a few times where the CGI is pretty lackluster. I think the only time it really bothered me is when they're in this thing called the sphere that's at the top of the tower.
Oh, yeah.
And the sphere creates... there's cameras on the outside of the sphere, and they reflect the world around it. So then, like, when the cameras become activated, it's like you can see through the sphere, and it looks like you're just floating in the clouds.
You didn't like that?
It didn't look great, especially before the effect takes place. You can tell it looks like they're walking around on a green screen set.
To me, I thought it was cool.
It was okay.
I guess you're right.
The acting was okay. I'd say 70% was pretty wooden. Neve Campbell was a standout. She was really, really good.
What did you think about the kids? Because I actually enjoyed the kids. Or at least the girl.
I was indifferent.
I thought the little girl was good.
They weren't in it long enough for me to really have an opinion.
Oh, that's fair.
They're relatively small characters. Dwayne Johnson's just Dwayne Johnson. He's Dwayne Johnson doing
Dwayne Johnson the things.
Yeah, Dwayne Johnson. He's a one-legged Dwayne Johnson. I mean, that's what he is.
Yeah, that's funny though.
I think the closest thing we've seen to him do any kind of acting is probably his character in Hobbs, who's just an iteration of The Rock.
I don't know what Hobbs is. What's Hobbs?
Hobbs is his character from Fast and the Furious.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, that's probably the closest we've seen to him actually, like, act recently. It's like Jumanji, Rampage.
Those are fun movies. I like Jumanji.
I like those too, but I mean, as far as like The Rock or Dwayne Johnson, I mean, those are
the kind of movies he makes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's him. So
Dwayne Johnson. Well, I said for the dislike, I said that the storyline was mediocre. I didn't really have. It wasn't super thrilling, and it didn't really catch my attention. Like the reason that the villains or the bad guys come involved with taking down the tower wasn't really. It wasn't
compelling.
I just was like, okay.
So that said the same thing with things I didn't like. Oh. It's a very generic. It's a very generic story. Very generic bad guys.
Yeah, it wasn't interesting or appealing.
It's things we've seen in other films, especially in films specifically like this one.
Like for example,
Die Hard. It's pretty much the same thing. Like if you saw this trailer and go, "Oh, hey, that's kind of like Die Hard." It's kind of like Die Hard.
It's kind of like Die Hard, really?
It's kind of like Die Hard, except Die Hard is like one of the best action films ever made. So that's the difference between these films. Anything else about this film?
No. All I said that my final thought was that it's worth seeing it in 3D. That's about it.
Yeah. So for me, my final thought is, while the film feels like it takes a lot of ideas from other films, it never does anything to stand out on its own.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's a carbon copy of other films, but it's got a very been there, done that. I've seen this kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And outside of the 3D effect, it never does anything to separate itself from other films in its genre. And if you're not a 3D enthusiast, I don't really recommend this that much. But if you're a 3D enthusiast and you want to go see like just a thrilling action film in a 3D cinema, go check this out. Highly worth the 3D effects. And if you're a fan of Dwayne Johnson, if you're someone just likes Dwayne Johnson's recent run of films, I think that this is probably one of those ones you could enjoy.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
That's it for this show.
Right now.
Right on time.
That never happens.
So that's it for this one. Go check the film out for yourself if you'd like. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more. We have another show to do right now.